And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today I'm talking about a game called Vagrantsong. It says here, Weird Games present Vagrantsong, a bone-chillingly spooky adventure. Now, Z Garcia on our channel has already reviewed this game. So if you want to know how the game plays, we'll put a link here in the description where you can go watch his video. I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on the game. I don't particularly usually do this, except maybe in a short video of sorts, because we don't want to duplicate too many reviews here on the Dice Tower. But Vagrantsong, I enjoyed this game so very much that I wanted to talk about it. This is easily one of my favorite dungeon crawls I've ever played, except it's not a dungeon crawl. So in this game, you are a vagrant, and I want to start off by saying I love the artwork for this game. This is a very, nowadays people say Cuphead, but I mean, when I talk to people, it could be Betty Boop. It's 1930s art style here, except it's modernized too. It's hard to explain. It's this modernized old artwork that is creepy, but yet not overly gory, and yet spooky. It's perfect, the artwork for this game. And so in this game, you play one of these vagrants, and the vagrants themselves feel so different and so unique that I was just really on board with this theme. So you're a bunch of vagrants. You're on this train. This train is going to the afterlife or something or other. There's a bunch of haints, which is a weird word, but they're like people who are now ghosts, and you're trying to restore their humanity without losing your own humanity itself. It's a cooperative game, and in many ways feels like a dungeon crawl. Like I said, you're on this train, and in fact, that's one of the unique things about this game, is that the board itself here shows 3 train cars. You are always in 3 train cars, and there's a little bit of terrain, but the haints that you fight against are going to be different, and the way they act is going to be different. So this game comes with, 20-some scenarios. I haven't gone through all of them yet, but I played through several of them. And it's a storyline that's written in a really cool, unique way. And it just feels different. You're not fighting goblins and dungeons. You're not fighting Cthulhu. You're not, it's unique here. But then again, it's not really a dungeon crawl because you're helping these haints, trying to restore their humanity. So again, the theme itself had me like from the get-go. I was like really intrigued with this. It's a pure cooperative game. Each of you, and there are these cool archetypes. Like the one guy plays the banjo. That person has the extra knapsack. There's the girl with her dog. There's the reverend who's preaching. And you're all on this train. You don't know how you got there. Man, just the theme itself sucks me in. So that's a big deal. The components themselves are also really neat. They use acrylics standees, which, you know what? I'm really coming around on acrylic standees, sometimes liking them even more than miniatures because you don't have to paint them. And with this cool artwork, they have this creepy vibe. I think the game itself, the component quality is really well done. Everything from this little bag here, which looks like the knapsack you put over your shoulder. I think the tokens are pretty easy to understand. The player cards themselves are really well done. And the change from when you have the person, here's the Empress, one of the characters. That's a pretty cool character. She's one of my favorites. And then changing to her ghostly side. I really like that aspect. So theme for me here, 10 out of 10. Uniqueness of the game, 10 out of 10. But that all pales, really in a sense, besides gameplay. And this is where I'm just mind-boggled with how much I like it. So this scenario book that comes with the game has piles of scenarios in it. And what I think is interesting is how you have an enemy here, and you pull chips from this bag. And the chip that you pull determines how the enemy operates. But even that can change based on the enemies facing, which could change back and forth from scenario to scenario. Here, the lady in white, she's lonesome or possessed. That's really neat. You pull a chip from the bag, but you're pulling chips from the bag twice. Not only do you pull them to activate the bad guy, but you can search and rummage in the train, pull these same chips that are then items you can use. Coupled with a really cool event system where there are event chips that can get thrown in the bag, and if you pull them, an event goes off, or they might be on the board and an event goes off. Coupled with the player's very, very well done action sequence here. All this is really strong mechanisms and ones I don't have to explain to people many times. Something I really like, so you have a movement here and you have 3 coins and you put these coins on top of the actions you take, but when you move, you can pause in the middle of your move to do one of your actions and then keep moving. Things like that are a little forgiving on players. I'm not saying this is a necessarily very easy game, nor did I find it tremendously difficult. I think it's just right. But being able to maneuver and pick between these things gives you some real fun as you go up against the different haints and things. I like that aspect a lot because you have so many options. You have special abilities. You will acquire more special abilities over the course of the game and has a real sense of direction and growth. Speaking of growth, I'm a big fan of the camp phase in between. There's 2 things I really like about it. One is getting more stuff. Hey, everyone likes to get more stuff, getting more special abilities, maybe getting some piece of equipment, kind of upgrading yourself as you go from one set of train cars to the next set of train cars. But I also like they have these in-between cards that happen in between rounds. Something happens, each player reacts to it, and how you react to it, something will happen to you, or maybe nothing, but something might happen to you. That's a neat concept. It adds to the theme, it's simple, and yet it feels different than other games. So far, you'll notice that I'm just kind of blathering about my enjoyment of all these different mechanisms that come together. But it uses, which something that's not new, one of my favorite mechanisms. I call it exploding dice, and this one it's called booming boxcars. Every time you roll a 6, you get to roll again. That sort of thing works for me, and also that you roll dice for you, while the enemies are more straightforward. They just kind of hit you for damage. Damage! What a great concept. In this game, you are healing yourself. Many of your things, like it might be a pleasant song that you play on the banjo, brings back your humanity, restores your health, essentially. But it also hurts the enemies because you're trying to restore their humanity. Sometimes it says the best way to restore someone is remind them of their humanity is with some pain. So your attacks against the bad guys are also helpful to you. This reminds me back when I used to play JRPGs and you come up against ghosts and you could throw potions at them and it would hurt them, but the potion also helps you. But I like this concept that the attacks are both beneficial to you and deadly to the enemies, or non-deadly, whatever it is. But that theme works. And so this all comes together in a really cool method. So you say, Tom, you're raving about this game. Is there anything about it you don't like? Well, it is a pretty big rule book here, and the way that the haints move and target people. There's a whole targeting priority system of like 7 different things to go through, and we ran into that problem occasionally where it was like, all right, how does the bad guy move? Sometimes, although we just got to the point where we're like, just do this, move here, do this. There's also a few other spots that I had to look for things in the rules, a few minor things that are easy to miss, like for example, when you put coins on one of your skill cards, you can't use that skill card the next round. But that's not like bolded, I think it should be. It's like in a paragraph somewhere that I missed the first time through. But they do have a complete example round in here. They go over the camp phase, and then there's different quote unquote moments here that you read that, again, give you these interesting things that happen. This, folks, is a slam dunk for me. I love the theming of this game. It is amazing. The artwork and production are top-notch. I love the gameplay. This feels like a breath of fresh air. I would recommend this, like if you like, for example, Gloomhaven, but you're looking for something that's not necessarily set in a fantasy setting. This is perhaps not as deep as Gloomhaven, but it's pretty strong. It's easy to get into. The first adventure teaches you pretty much all the different things that are going on. I was telling people, I think it's pretty much impossible to die in the first adventure, but that's the way it should be. And then it just gets you ready for the next one, and you're just excited about how these things work and how you're going to make the different rituals happen if possible, and how you're going to work together. You can switch characters in between scenarios too. This is not one a lot of people have heard of. This is not necessarily in the hotness online, but this is a game I absolutely love. I think it's fantastic. I have played hundreds is a strong word, dozens of dungeon crawls and adventure games. And I played several really good ones this year. This, folks, is top tier. This is a fantastic game that I can give my highest recommendation to. So check out Vagrantsong. Again, if you want to see how it plays, check out Z's review of it. But until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching the Dice Tower. Check it out. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent.